So next topic for today's podcast is yelling at your kids. So I think it's pretty consensus that, I don't think there's any benefits to it, but there's a research out from MedicineNet, I believe is the website here, that talk about specifically yelling at your kids and the impacts that it has. And I don't think it's very, surprising, some of the findings, but what are your thoughts on, the impacts of yelling at your kids?
Well, if you're talking about, once in a while, once every blue moon, they do something really goofy and you lose it, and you yell at them.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think you can be faulted. I mean, everybody's human. You make some.
Yeah.
Nobody's a perfect parent.
Sure.
But when it's a consistent form of behavior and a consistent form of discipline, that is called abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is called abuse. I mean, I would go even as far as saying, look, this might surprise the audience, but I'm a pretty loud guy in general. Like, I talk loudly in general, right? Even at home. And I've never realized that. And when Sarah was really, really young, the way I would talk to her, to me, I wasn't yelling at her.
Sure.
But because of my tone and me just being naturally louder, it would come across that way. And so I had to make a conscious effort to pull back when I talked to her about serious things, right?
Sure.
Because it would come across way too serious, over the top.
Sure.
From her perspective.
So according to this article, there's a couple of things, quite a few things that they found. In terms of short-term effects, aggressive behavior from kids, symptoms of anxiety, behavioral problems. So for guys, it was losing self-control. And with girls, it was reacting with anger or frustration, and then withdrawal from parent. In terms of long-term effects, some of these are surprising, but not surprising. So effects on physical health, depression, chronic pain, emotional problems like anxiety, low self-esteem, I think is a big one. Behavioral problems, bullying behavior, social problems. First of all, is anyone surprised to hear of any of this?
No.
But
okay, I gotta kind of take this with a grain of salt.
Right.
Okay, as a parent, are you going to raise your voice at your child? Yes. Do your children know how to push your buttons and tick you off? Absolutely. And sometimes that is the way you're going to get their attention, is if you have to take your voice up a few octaves. But if you're constantly, the issue is if you're constantly, that's how you communicate, and that's how yelling and the words that you're using. I've raised my voice at my kids. Fortunately, my kids are good kids, but they know if I raise my voice, then there's I need an instant change in the behavior and whatever it is they're doing. Yeah. So with this particular article, are you looking at like kids who are maybe, it's being, they're already being abused because the words that are being used and when they're constantly being yelled at, is it that their parents is speaking to them in a loud voice, or is it the words that are being said to them that are constantly being yelled at them that are leading to these, depression and acting out or whatever? So you have to look at it holistically. You can't just say, well, yelling at your kids is going to have a negative impact on them, because as parents, you're going to yell. Like, we're human. It happens.
Right. I think that's really the key. Is it a normal behavior, or is it once a month or once?
Normal,
no,
it's abuse.
Yeah.
No.
And just as problematic or more problematic is what that child is learning as normalized behavior, because they're going to grow up. And chances are they're either going to be totally the opposite way or totally that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah. And you've seen it. I've seen it in my life. I think really the thing is your child expecting that as the normal behavior, right? And are you always yelling at them? Are you always putting them down? Are you always insulting them? Are you killing their self-esteem?
Exactly.
And those are the things that are, I think, the impactful things. Yeah, of course, I think everyone loses their temper, gets frustrated, but
we just talked about poison work environment. That's a poison home environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it leads to all the same kind of mental problems. as with adults in workplaces, same, and even more so with children.
Yeah.
Because they don't have.
And they don't have the ability to defend themselves, right?
That's
You're
right.
like 5 times bigger than them, right? Like
That's right.
depending on what age, but and I think that's what happens. Like the younger they are, the less they can defend themselves. That's where a lot of
Absolutely.
bully parents just become more bullies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as they get older and they start talking back, they slow it down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But I think it has impact, and I think I just wanted to do this segment here just to keep people aware the impacts you have on your children. Every word they learn, everything from you, and you think you're convincing yourself that you're doing it for their good, right? But you're probably not, right? And fast forward 20 years, 40 years, you're not gonna get those visits from your kids because you kind of grew that gap, right? Early. So love them a lot. Be strict. Do different things, but I think yelling is a little bit overboard, and try to do as least of that as possible.
Yeah, it's never too late to change your behavior too.
Mm-hmm.
Once you become aware.
Yeah, exactly.